It's Kitchen Courses with Kate and Eric.
For the hors d'oeuvre, we are going to make some spiced nuts. It's just kind of an elevated snack. Oftentimes people put out mixed nuts, and this just elevates it a little bit. You're going to separate an egg and get the egg white. Once you've separated the egg white out, put it in a glass bowl or a metal bowl, and you're gonna whisk it. And you're gonna whisk it until the egg gets frothy. And this, if you're doing it by hand, could take about 2 to 3 minutes. I think that's about how long it took me. I'm not sure.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, about 2 to 3 minutes to really whisk it up. Once you've gotten that whisked, you are going to add about 1/4 cup of sugar, about a teaspoon of salt, a 1/2 teaspoon of chili powder, 2 teaspoons of cayenne pepper, and then a 1/2 teaspoon of coriander, 1/4 teaspoon of garam masala. And the cayenne pepper gives it a little bit of a kick. Garam masala is a really warm Indian spice, and I think it just really adds some nice notes to this. And once you mix that together, you'll then add 1.5 cups of pecans and 1 cup of almonds. And you want to make sure that it's raw almonds and raw pecans because you don't want to put salt on salt.
Can you use other kinds of nuts for this delicious hors d'oeuvre?
Yes, you could certainly use other kinds of nuts. Walnuts are actually really good. I've made it with walnuts or cashews, but again, just making sure that they're raw, that they're not already like salted and toasted.
Is that because after you bake it, you're gonna salt it?
So there's salt in with the egg mixture and the sugar. Like there is a little bit of kosher salt in there. There's about a teaspoon of salt, but what you just don't want to start with a salty nut. So once you've mixed the nuts together and make sure all of it's really coated, you're gonna take a baking tray and put down parchment paper, and you're gonna...
Don't use wax paper. It is not the same.
You have the nuts on the parchment-lined baking sheet. You're gonna put it in the oven and bake it at 300 for 15 minutes. There you go. After the 15 minutes, pull it out of the oven, and you're gonna mix it up because you want the nuts to kind of be turned to make sure that both sides get roasted. And at this stage, I just sprinkled a little bit of Himalayan or sea salt over it to just kind of add just a little bit more punch with the salt flavor. If you're not a fan of a salt flavor, you can certainly skip this step. But you do wanna, regardless, you do wanna pull out the nuts and mix them up. And then you're gonna put it back in the oven at 200 for another 10 minutes. So the total baking time will be about 25 minutes. So once you've pulled them out of the oven for the second time, you're going to pull the parchment paper and the nuts onto a wire, kind of a wire rack, and take them off the baking sheet so that they can cool on both sides. And at this point, you'll also want to use kind of the metal spatula or the metal spoon to kind of mix the nuts around. You can leave them on the rack for, again, 15 to 20 minutes and let them cool. In the meantime, you can assemble some other little things to kind of nibble on. We have some marinated mushrooms, some little beak peppers, and some Spanish green olive I'm gonna put out to accompany the spiced nuts. This hors d'oeuvre is super easy. It's something that if folks don't finish it all, it's great to have as a snack during the week.
How are we gonna serve it?
I'm a little obsessed with little bowls and like serving trays. So at my house, I would just take out just a few little bowls, put them on a nice serving tray, carry it in, put it on the coffee table, and just let people have some napkins out and let people just snack.
Just compartmentalized.
Compartmentalized. If you're not really good friends with the people, you want to make sure you put out some toothpicks because you don't want your hands dipping into the same bowl, or a little spoon.
Okay. That's all we need to say about that, right? Yeah.
Okay. And then about 1 3/4 teaspoon. You're gonna have to edit that out.